So this is my nonprofit video interview for CSIS 430. I chose to interview Gabriel Biber. He is the executive director for Haven House and has been since April of 2018. Haven House's staff is relatively small. As executive director, Gabe reports to the board of directors, which consists of 13 people, but otherwise he is at the top of all day-to-day operations. Most people work on sort of the same level in more of a collaborative way, but Gabe is responsible for overseeing this. Specifically, he works closely with the communications coordinator, operations manager, and volunteer and projects manager, which are actually the roles that he previously had. From there are staff that deal with the more logistical operations of getting families in and actually providing the services. Obviously, lots of volunteers. On a day-to-day basis, Gabe sort of has a loose managerial role of overseeing operations and making sure things are running how they're supposed to, particularly ensuring that they are in accordance to the grant requirements. Outside of that, he is also responsible for developing and maintaining the vision for the organization. This can include setting goals for certain staff members and programs. Additionally, a large part of his daily work includes looking for new resources, and that might take the form of researching new grants or other funding, as well as connecting with outside agencies. Moving on to a little bit more about Haven House itself, they are a 501c3 organization and do receive about half of their funding from grants. The exact funding numbers are 48% comes from requests, 34% from grants, and 18% from donations. He did emphasize the importance of securing donations despite it only accounting for 18%. Their mission statement is, Haven House provides emergency housing and support services for one-parent and two-parent families with children. The shelter helps families who are homeless prepare for permanent housing by developing and promoting self-sufficiency, stability, and financial responsibility. When I asked Gabe about their vision, he spoke a lot about focusing on working towards preventative measures and reducing the need for homeless shelters in general, and that includes working towards better social programs and making sure affordable housing is actually affordable. He also mentioned goals regarding the facilities, meaning the overall feel of Haven House, both to clients and staff, and making sure they're constantly improving storage and capacity needs and maintaining quality conditions for clients. Gabe emphasized the importance of staying client-centered and bearing in mind that most people come in with trauma and to make sure that the rules and procedures they have in place accommodate for that. When I asked Gabe about challenges, he highlighted a few things. First, because they do receive a large part of their funding through grants, it can be a bit unstable as they become more or less available due to competition from other organizations and the funding that's available on state and federal levels. Additionally, the Lansing area is relatively small population-wise, so there's a bit of local competition, so most charities are competing a bit for private donations as well. Gabe talked a lot about keeping staff members that they hire. Compassion fatigue plays a large part in why they lose staff, and to combat that, they've been improving training techniques and resources, specifically through trauma-informed care training so that staff feel capable of handling tough situations. For him specifically, this means improving training engagement and determining ongoing opportunities for development, as well as maintaining appropriate and up-to-date personnel policies. When I asked about any sustainability issues, Gabe spoke less about Haven House and more about homelessness itself and why it happens. A lot of the people he works with are homeless because they cannot afford their medical bills, and affordable healthcare could dramatically decrease the number of people who are homeless. We also discussed how COVID has impacted their organizations. Families are now sheltered in hotels rather than their actual building, and they've drastically reduced the amount of people coming in and drop things off. It's definitely been interesting for them to figure out the logistics of complying with the governmental regulations. So that about sums it up, and thank you for listening.